Mr. Starr, I have a two-part question. I was a little startled by you seemingly indicating that because Republicans didn't have a supermajority back in the Clinton affair, that they apparently should not have impeached Bill Clinton. That's my first question, because that's what it sounds like you're saying, because there was no supermajority, that would somehow block impeachment. And in relation to that, I would like you to compare...
Can I answer that very briefly, because I believe it's a factor counseling restraint, because calls for impeachment without the most serious kinds of grounds. I think what the Clinton process tells us is the country intuitively does not like impeachment. So it's a factor that should be taken into account in the political process. No, I've never criticized the House of Representatives for its judgment. I respect that judgment greatly. I have said, including in the book, I wish there had been, in retrospect, a more robust debate with respect to a lesser sanction called a resolution of censure being pushed by, have you heard of Senator Dianne Feinstein? And have you heard of Senator Joe Lieberman? But there was a sense, and I understand this, I respect the view, that it's impeachment or nothing. I respectfully and strongly disagree with that view, that in the discretion of the House of Representatives could have said, we're going to have a resolution of censure, ditto for the Senate. I'm sorry, well, question two.
Thank you, you've made me feel much better about that. But here's my real question. So I agreed with you back in 1998-99 that the conversation Bill Clinton had with Betty Curry the morning after the Monica Lewinsky testimony, where he perjured himself and then he suborns her perjury in the White House the next day. I believe that was an impeachable offense. But I've heard you, and I could be wrong, please correct me if I am, I know you will. I've heard you've been somewhat dismissive of the conversation Donald Trump had with James Comey that I find to be far more egregious, where he says you're going to go easy on Flynn and I need your loyalty, and then he fires him. I wonder if you could compare those two episodes, the Betty Curry conversation, which you said was impeachable, and the Comey situation.
Because Betty, first of all, President Clinton was defying an order from Susan Weber Wright in a court of law. So let's leave politics aside and the executive power, the exercise of executive power. My view is, and you might disagree with this, but it's a free country, the president could fire Jim Comey for any reason he wants to, period. Unless there is a corrupt bargain, a payment of a bribe or something like that. But the president exercising power for his own self-interest, his political self-interest and so forth, is simply that which we consider in the polity, and whether we think well of the president or think ill of the president, but it's not a crime. And I think that conversation is virtually ended in terms of somehow the firing of James Comey, his interest in bringing the Russian investigation to an end and so forth, was somehow obstruction of justice. It's simply not. I even convinced Chris Cuomo. Do you know who Chris Cuomo was? And I didn't convince him. The Supreme Court did, and it's a unanimous decision, Arthur Anderson versus the United States. So anyway, what President Clinton did was not only defy a specific order, but he also was encouraging her to lie under oath. We're talking politics and power with President Trump. With President Clinton, we're talking contempt for the rule of law. You say, well, that's awfully harsh. No, he was found in contempt, and thus the name of the book, by a United States District Court judge, and Bill Clinton is the only president, thankfully, in our history, the entire history of the Republic, to have been found in contempt by a federal district court. And he did not appeal. He didn't move for reconsideration. He simply accepted the contempt judgment. That strikes me as totally different in terms of values of the rule of law.